It is time for our weekly Monday conversation with Adam Terry. We welcome it in, and Adam, as expected, not a contest in the opener against Colgate 65-0. But what do you take out of that game? And more importantly, Adam, what do you think the team takes out of a game like that?
Well, I take away that they were prepared. You look at what they were able to do offensively when they had their way with a lesser opponent in Colgate. Offensive line did well with the substitution that, we kind of understood maybe Joe Moore would be out of the game and Bradford would be in, playing that right guard position. So across the board, that looked pretty good. The biggest thing is the health of Garrett Schrader. He looked like he had a little bit more zip in the arm. The ball placement looked pretty good. So everything offensively that you saw, it was fantastic. And then the plethora of wide receivers that were able to make a mark and get and really form a presence helps that unit go into each week and create competition. So if one guy's not doing what he's supposed to, somebody else can emerge in those situations. Defensively, they were all over the place. So I really enjoyed that. And the guys that were historically the playmakers, a guy like Marlo Wax and Caleb Okechukwu, like those names were being said quite a bit. So it was fun to watch those guys as well.
Yeah, I think, Adam, honestly, if the game was still going on now, 2 days later, I don't think Colgate would have scored yet, the way the defense was all over them on Saturday. You mentioned Schrader. I'd say one of the main things I was watching, and it sounds like the same to you, Adam, is like legitimately, wherever the ball went, whatever, like just how it was coming out of his hand. It sounds like to you, as to me, it looks good enough, right, to start the season of the ball literally coming out of his hand as he's coming back from elbow surgery.
Yeah, no, there was definitely zip on it. Placement was pretty good. I'm a heck of a Madden quarterback, not so much in real life. So when you're looking at it, the one thing that impressed me the most wasn't the arm, it was the decision making. When he started to flush out of the pocket, his eyes were down the field and he was trying to make a play. So, the play where he throws that ball across body over to Isaiah Jones in the corner, that was just off of, he had Green in front of him. But, I think he's been working, as well as Jason Beck, the offensive coordinator, is to, we know what you can do if you have to kind of pull that ball down and run. This was an opportunity where he started to scramble. He had somebody at his feet. He's able to look down the field and deliver a dart and for a touchdown. So that was impressive to me. And, that's a big play, 44-yard touchdown.
And I think we saw there was a couple of runs he had that were scramble drills where he actually ran it in the first half, and he was very aware of his surroundings, right? Like he was getting down to avoid a big hit. The only big hit I can recall him taking was on the opening drive of the second half. I guess there's one thing against Colgate, right, Adam, and another thing if you're doing that and trying to get a first down against Clemson or something down the line. But it seemed like he was taking that stuff into consideration where maybe not as much in the past.
I think you saw that across the board. Another guy that was doing it quite often was Rondé Gadsden. He was getting the ball and getting down to the ground, and I agree with you. You're not going to take a lick from a safety from Colgate, but if there's a yard to gain in a big-time game, you're going to do that in order to get that inch or a foot or a yard. So that was interesting, but, I think across the board it was the best thing that we could have had, right, without looking at anything right now and knowing who's playing what. The two deep looked, there was only one change in the two deep this week, and that was Jacob Bradford going into the right guard position with Joe Moore going to the second string. But I think that is because of injury. Everything else looks like everybody else came out unscathed. So that is the most important one, because you have a tougher competition this week in Western Michigan.
Yeah, and I love talking to you about the O-line play. And from Dino post game, it sounded like Moore maybe got his ankle rolled up sometime in practice during the week. So hopefully that's not too long. But man, we've seen it the last few years, right, Adam? Like you don't necessarily want to have to go 8, 9, 10 deep on the O-line. But did you learn anything about a guy like Bradford getting tossed in there when you're already working your way down the depth chart at guard at this point?
Well, I think what you're starting to see is, you see Bradford step up, but you're also starting to see Mike Schmidt last year. He goes down to Mississippi State. Steve Farmer comes in from Tulsa. When I was at the Senior Bowl 2 years ago, Steve Farmer had a guy that was wasn't at the Senior Bowl and was a high draft pick, I believe second round, and then he had two other guys there. So, you know, when you're looking at what he's capable of doing, I mean, it's a lesser-known name. It's, you know, some would say it's a non-impact position as far as bringing in an O-line coach, but we saw the difference when Mike Schmidt stepped in, and now he's gone, and you see Farmer come in right now, and the mentality was good. Everybody was, you know, there's definitely things to clean up because you could see that when he was addressing guys, but you've got, hypothetically, you've got, if that depth chart changes back to what it was the first week, you've got three transfers on the right side of the offensive line, and then Bleich playing left guard and Enrique Cruz playing left tackle. So it's just going to be, you want 7 to 8 guys that are capable of playing, and believe me, a guy like Josh Aloha is not going to just sit back and allow somebody to kind of come in and take his spot. So the best thing that I'm seeing throughout this, and I saw it during spring ball and the few times that I was able to watch the scrimmages during fall camp, is there's more competition. Guys are bigger. Guys are stronger. They did a fantastic job in the portal. And those are the kind of the free agent impacts. Those are the more immediate impacts. And then you look at the high school recruiting, and that's a little bit more of the draft. You've got a year or two to develop those guys. But Darrell Gill Jr., when he stepped out on the field, he was a twitchy guy. He made an impact. He caught the ball and darted inside, able to take it back around for an 18-yard touchdown. So there are still some young guys that, like Daniels, same type of thing. You know, he's probably third on the depth chart behind Jawan Price, but you're going to need all of those guys come middle of that season when you have that big gauntlet of the ACC schedule.
You know, I talked with Eric Dungy about this on postgame the other day, and Dino alluded to it, more than alluded to it in his postgame press conference, and I think we've seen it in practice over the years. Like, you know, you can look at games like this, right, Adam? Oh, fourth quarter against Colgate in a blowout. Who cares? You mentioned a guy like Ike Daniels. Dino does care about that stuff, right? He likes to see guys in action in actual games do something as opposed to practice sometimes when, like, he actually is putting, like, that fourth quarter tape into practice as far as who's going to get playing times and the other games coming up.
Well, the biggest thing about that is how does the guy prepare? You know, when you go into the week, everybody can be in the film room. You know, usually the coach is in the back of the room with the players in front, and you can kind of see the back of their head. You know, you can see if they're taking notes and doing what they're supposed to do, watching extra film. But in a situation going against live bodies, offensively and defensively against Colgate, that was impressive. You know, you have to go out there as a freshman, one, understand what you're doing, and then also, two, understand what the adjustments are on the fly, because you might have the general concept of the play, but when it's in live action and it's going fast, those are reps that you'll never be able to get back. And that's what I love to see about the freshmen and how they go about their business on a daily basis. And those guys perform. So fun to watch. And I agree with Dino. Dino is, you know, he's been coaching a long time, and I have the utmost respect for Dino. And when he said a couple of things that really stuck out in my mind this week. But, you know, when he's talking about freshmen and really wanting to watch the tape, you know, that's what it's for is, you know, is this guy doing what he's supposed to be on and off the field?
Yeah, and heck, we mentioned Ike Daniels there. What do you have? He had 11 carries, 63 yards. Talk about a freshman last year. LaQuinn Allen was a freshman last year. We saw him kind of earn that playing time in that role as the season went on. And here he is, man, like clearly the starter. 16 carries, $7, had the touchdown, nearly busted a couple others, got the first touchdown of the season. Again, it's Colgate, but, you know, you see the guy's attitude, everything he's been through in the last 9 months. It feels like, you know, he is here and he's ready to take on whatever the Sean Tucker role is this season.
Yeah, he looked good. You know, I think the biggest thing is he went out there, he was prepared, and he performed. And that is what you're looking for in a game like this. Yes, you don't expect a tight game against a team like Colgate, but Colgate's also not a slouch in their performances either. You know, they go out to Stanford, they played against Power 5 teams, and Brescia, the quarterback, is a threat. They were rated. Yes, they didn't have the season they wanted last year, only going 3-8, but they have some players that are capable of performing. So, and especially at that Patriot League level, they're high level performers.
Yeah, they've had great success at that level over the last 20, 30 years or so. Adam Terry with us, our weekly Monday conversation, putting the ramps on Syracuse's season opening win, 65-0 against Colgate. Most points scored in the Dino Babers era, biggest win, yada, yada, yada. Everything you'd like out of the game in the opener. We talked last week, Adam, about, all right, we know Gadsden. Everybody knows Gadsden. Who else is getting the ball out of the wide receiver spot this year as weapons? Then the game starts. Aronde had like 8 targets, and a bunch of other people had 1, and then Garrett started mixing it around. It almost felt intentional in my mind, Adam. He's like, all right, I better see what else we got out here. What'd you learn about the other guys? Because Amari Hatcher has a big game. You mentioned Donovan Brown last week. He had a nice game. Zay Jones had a nice game, on and on and on. Did you learn more about that group on Saturday?
Well, I did. You know, one of the biggest statements was Dino at the end of the game when Amari Hatcher had that big successful 26 and a quarter average per catch. You know, when he said, you know, his nightlife was affecting his day life. And, you know, obviously there was some insinuation of, you know, he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing at nighttime, and or he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing. And he's had a good fall camp, and he went out there and performed. So I don't necessarily see him like supplanting anybody, but Damian Alford, I mean, that man looks the part, right? You go out there and you look at a guy like T. Higgins back at Clemson, those big-time wide receivers that are big and tall and athletic. He's very reminiscent to me of a Johnny Morant who I played with. All the tools in the world, and you know, hopefully Damian is a guy that can go out there and put it all together, because he looks the part. He ran well. He is a captain, which is a testament to what he was doing in the off season and during the fall. So I liked what I saw out of that. Kendall Long, you know, he started coming in, but, you know, Trevor Pena, can Donovan Brown supplant Trevor Pena? You know, Trevor's out right now with an injury. Can he supplant him and take some time away from him? So all the way across the board, you know, Isaiah Jones looked great, Donovan Brown, and Damian Alford. I mean, those are going to be the guys that are going to be around Gadsden, or unless one of these other guys pops out in the next week or two.
Yeah, you mentioned Donovan last week. You said that was the word on people's lips at camp. I liked Donovan. I was intrigued on Alford, and man, Schrader was just a little bit off on what could have been a 90-yard touchdown to Alford to start the second half. But the 3 for 27 and a touchdown doesn't look much like Alford. But here's what stood out to me, Adam, that, you know, it's always been deep routes with him. It's always been stuff down the field, and that was still there. He ran a lot more, you know, other stuff, more full wide receiver package stuff on Saturday, and that stands out maybe as something most important to what he's got going forward.
Hands down, and the other thing that I liked is when he was paired with Aronde. You know, they put him, his touchdown going up the right-hand sideline, it was give or take. Hey, if you're going to give it to Aronde, we're going to throw it to him. If you're going to give it to Damian, we're going to throw it to him. And then he was able to make a, you know, quick little move and get up that sideline and score. But, you know, that's a cool combination right there, where those are two big guys that can be physical and go up for the ball. So really like that. And, you know, we've talked a lot about the wide receivers, but one wide receiver we're really not mentioning that I was impressed with, and he was on the special teams side, is DeMarcus Adams. That was you know, I think he had a couple where he really could have taken it, and I thought he was going to pop one for a touchdown. But coming against Western Michigan this week, you know, with a punter right now that's averaging 33 yards per kick, that ball's going to be low line drives. And if we can get back and get a sideline, a return blocked up the sideline, I think he might have some success this week.
You know, after his first punt return of the game, I spent like the next 4 or 5. He's housing this one. Like, it felt like it was almost inevitable. Didn't actually happen on Saturday. You know, I always find it, you know, obviously, you know, catch the ball first, the whole thing. I love the idea of an aggressive return game, right? In college, that you can't really do it on kickoff anymore. You might as well go for it in the punt game when you have a speedy guy like Adams, who legit was a track guy in the ACC at Florida State.
Yeah, no, it's going to be give or take, and this is the three facets of the game: offense, defense, special teams is the one that really surprised me the most. Bob Lugashevsky came in last year, and you're looking at what they were capable of doing with Stonehouse was like, hey, we're back into punter you again. And that ball was getting up high towards the scoreboard, coming down, turning over, and then Brady Denenberg just showed off with the ability of 10 touchbacks out of 11 during the game, and one was a fair catch, but you just liked what that was. I believe there was one penalty on special teams, but for the most part, that we used to have plethora of just a myriad of different penalties on our return games. So that was good to see as well.
Yeah, they had the lining up over the snapper on the one punt on Colgate early in the game. Those are the things that drives the head coach bonkers, so hopefully it'll get cleaned up going forward. All right, Adam, looking forward into this week. Give me number one thing that you need to see going this week, a step up from week 1 to week 2. I know it's hard and 65-0, but what's the main thing you think needs to improve here going forward?
Well, I put on the film a little bit for Western Michigan, and I watched them play St. Francis, and the thing that I see the most is the wide receivers can get loose. That is, St. Francis had the ability to stay in the game by throwing the football and drop coverage by Western Michigan. And we have better wide receivers than St. Francis does. And I think with a healthy Garrett Schrader and be able to block up on that offensive line, we're going to have a heck of a day. So that's really what I see the most on that offensive side of the ball. LaQuint Allen's still going to run the football. But I just saw a lot of holes in that secondary. And defensively, what you're looking at is you have to stop the run. Lance Taylor he was with Louisville last year, so he knows Syracuse a tad bit as the offensive coordinator. Prior to that, he was a running back coach in the NFL, and then, most recently at Notre Dame, he's going to run the football, and they ran it 67 times the other day. 67 times they ran the football. So you know what's coming at you. You've got to be able to stop the run. And I think they're up for that challenge. So definitely plays into what we saw the first week. Syracuse can throw the ball around the field, and if the box count is right, they're not afraid to run the football. And then defensively, they're going to stop the run just like they showed the other day, and get off the field and allow a return game. And I revert back to what I said earlier about DeMarcus Adams. I think he's got a shot this week with some low-line drives, and you block it up, take it to the house.
All right, man. Good stuff as always, Adam. Enjoy the weekend. We'll do it again next Monday, okay?
All right, sounds